Welcome back. Step 1 will cover setting up your software and hardware to capture a great sound and performance. I take it GarageBand is now installed on your device, and if so, start by opening your app. You'll be welcomed to this page. Click continue a couple of times, and then you can decide for yourself whether you want GarageBand to send you notifications. I'm quite okay with that. Now, you'll be introduced to a screen asking you to select an instrument type. One of the great things about GarageBand is the wide array of sounds and effects already included for free, though you may have to install them separately. We will absolutely come back to these, as they are tremendously useful in shaping your sound later, but for now, swipe on over to Audio Recorder and select Voice. For now, just click Allow to make sure your device's onboard microphones are ready for recording. Later, I will run through how to use an external microphone running through an audio interface. GarageBand now really wants to get you using effects on the microphone, and even comes preloaded with some. Feel free to explore these and find what sounds best to you. Just remember, if it sounds good, it is good. I'll say that a lot throughout these videos. To make this as approachable as possible for students, click the tab that says Fun, and then select Clean if it is not already selected. This will provide us with a blank slate sound for recording whatever we like. Now click this little input jack icon next to the word In to open your input settings. This is where you will go to decide what microphone you would like to capture your sound with. For now, I'll just leave it set to the top microphone. This is on my iPad and it will capture a mono signal. In other words, only one channel of audio will be recorded. At this point, it's also best to set the input level to automatic, as this will prevent the sound from getting too loud or too soft when recording. You can also adjust the gain or input level manually if you anticipate playing particularly loud or particularly soft. Click any blank space just to exit this menu now. Now for something incredibly important, monitoring. Monitoring is essentially the word for how we listen back to what we're recording, typically as we're recording it. As I am using my device's onboard microphone, GarageBand will not allow me to monitor through my device's speakers at the same time. This is to avoid the sound being output by the speakers to be picked up by the microphone and amplified again in a loop. This is known as a feedback loop. These can get incredibly loud and damage your hearing, so it's best practice to plug in a wired set of headphones to isolate the incoming and outgoing sounds from one another. I have a pair of them just here. In my case, I will be plugging in an audio interface into my iPad's USB port, then plugging my headphones into one of the headphone out ports on the interface. All audio interfaces should have this functionality. However, if you do not have an audio interface, wired headphones can be plugged straight into the device, either via the headphone jack or a USB-C adapter. If you do not have headphones to actively monitor the sound as you record, that's okay. The speakers on your device, or even external speakers if you have them, should be just fine. It just means you will have to listen back to your recording after capturing it, which you really should be doing regardless. So my audio interface is this one just here. You can see I have 2 headphone output jacks, and on the back, 4 input selectors. So I will be plugging this in to my iPad via a USB-C cable, which is plugged into my iPad. That's now lighting up. So now that my audio interface and headphones are plugged in, GarageBand is going to ask if I want to turn on monitoring, to which I will say, yes, please. I'll now plug in my admittedly very old microphone into channel 1 on the interface. So that will be channel 1 on the back. And on this particular microphone, I will have to turn the switch on as well. At the same time, I'm also going to plug in my headphones into the headphone out so that I can monitor my recordings. This is a dynamic microphone, which is one of the more common styles of microphone you're likely to encounter. Essentially, this means it won't need any extra power, known as phantom power, to run. If, however, your microphone is a condenser style of microphone, or you're just not sure and the output level seems too low regardless of how much extra gain you apply, you may need to activate phantom power on your interface. This is often represented by a 48 volt symbol, which I have here. Fortunately, this microphone does not need that power. Now that my microphone is plugged in and I have input 1 selected down by channel in GarageBand, just here, it's time to start setting an appropriate level for recording. This will vary tremendously on the type of sound being recorded and the microphone being used. For instance, a nylon stringed acoustic guitar will be much quieter than, say, an acoustic drum, and will therefore require a much higher amount of gain. I'll be recording my steel string acoustic, which is over here, so I'll turn up the gain on my interface until I hear the sound coming out of the headphones is loud enough. Here's my acoustic guitar. I've got my microphone set up right next to it. And there, that sounds about right to my ears. Remember, we've selected automatic input level in the settings, so we may see this slider on the left go up or down as it adjusts the incoming signal. Now, each of these presets will have a couple of different settings to play with. In my case, I have tone on the left, which will affect how bright or dark the sound coming in is. I'll set that back to the middle. And squeeze on the right, which will compress the signal so that the quietest and louder sounds are closer together, evening out the resulting recording. Have a listen to each of these presets and feel free to adjust them to your personal taste. For more advanced adjustments to the incoming signal, you can press this little mixer icon with the 3 sliders in the top left of the screen to reveal some more fine-tuning adjustments to the sound. Just remember, if it sounds good, it is good. The end. Okay, so we've got everything sounding how we like, and we're hopefully well rehearsed. We're just about ready to start recording our first track. We could hit this red circle up at the top of the screen, and we could start a 4-beat countdown and start recording. But we're forward thinking. We know that we're going to start layering in other recordings over the top of this first one, something we'll cover in part 2 of this video series. Therefore, it's important to make sure we play to a click track or metronome, and keep this tempo the same throughout the project to seamlessly integrate multiple recordings. The button to turn on the metronome is up at the top of the screen on the right of the main volume fader. When active, it will turn blue. To alter the tempo and adjust other settings related to the metronome and count-in, click the gear icon in the top right of the screen. I want each section or bar of my track to take 4 beats. So I'm going to keep my time signature set to 4/4. However, I want to record just a little bit faster than what it is currently set to. So I'll go into the tempo settings and increase the speed of the clicks to around 120 beats per minute. If I wasn't 100% sure of the exact number of BPM, I can set, or I can tap at least 4 times on the tap to set tempo button to set the speed that I want to play at. That's a little bit fast. Perfect. And the number on the right will update to display that BPM. Okay, now that the metronome is set and I'm ready to record, I'll make sure my cursor, also known as the playhead, is set to the beginning of the track, with this icon just to the left of the play pause icon in the center. Then hit that red circle to start recording. To stop recording, just hit the stop button and it will stop recording and take you back to the start. Excellent. Now we've just made our first recording of nothing. Now, where on earth is it? If I navigate to the top left of the screen, I can see this icon that looks like multiple lines overlapping one another. This is where I navigated to earlier. If I click this, it will change to the microphone symbol, showing us how to return to the previous page, like this, while simultaneously taking us to what's known as the timeline. This is where all of our recordings will be stored and later arranged to form a complete track. I can select the recording I just made, and then use the handles that appear on either side to adjust the length of the track as needed. I can also use 2 fingers to pinch and zoom in and out of the screen. And by tapping again, once I've already selected it, I can open some further settings to move around the file with cut, copy, paste. I can also delete the file from the timeline if I don't want it. Or I can split the file in 2 at the current playhead position. I do this by selecting just where I want to make my cut. Let's say it was here. With the playhead, and then opening the file settings, selecting split, and then dragging this scissor icon down the track to cut it into, just like this. Perfect. Now I have 2 separate recordings. A useful tip, if I make any changes that I'm not particularly happy with, I can always press the undo icon at the top of the screen to revert my changes. There we go, back to 1 clip. In the timeline screen, I can also slide over this tab on the left to open my track settings. These are incredibly useful. So it's good to have these open while listening back to recordings, especially multiple at once. From left to right, the icons will mute, solo the track, ensuring only tracks with these highlighted will be muted or play. The red circle indicates the selected track is armed and ready to record. By pressing and holding, I can change a number of input settings. The 4th icon will turn on or off input monitoring on that track, allowing you to hear the recording as it comes in. And finally, the track volume fader will allow you to turn up or down the recording as it comes in. Before we close out with step 1, it's important to know how to save and close the project, so you can come back to it later exactly where you left off. This is as easy as selecting the file icon in the top left corner of the screen. This will automatically save and close the file. So the next time you open GarageBand, you can simply click on this file again to open it. By clicking and holding, if I go back, you will reveal some file settings. These will be useful, especially later, for moving and sharing the file, as well as renaming and more generally managing the file. We hope step 1 in this series has been useful. In the next video, we will look into layering multiple recordings together, enabling greater collaboration with other musicians. I'll see you in step 2.